Hello.
Hi. How are you? We devised this Can You Find list to entertain the kids when they come to see the layout. We have an open house about twice a year. And what we have found is the kids really enjoy this, but the adults enjoy it too. And it has forced the adults to enjoy the layout more because they have to look for these details.
Train is going. You're gonna miss it. There's a train.
What is the best thing you like about it?
The detail. The detail is incredible.
Hi, I'm John Travis. I'm superintendent of the Johnstown and Gerryville Railroad. The Johnstown and Gerryville is a model railroad, HO scale. The era for the railroad is 1953, and it's located in southwestern Pennsylvania, just east of Pittsburgh. To begin with, we have two levels on the layout. The upper level here, and then the lower level. And behind me is a mountain. And the mountain is used, the track wraps around the mountain and it brings you between the two levels. We have about 17 inches of territory to take care of. From this position you can begin to see how the two levels work. Coming around the corner here on the upper level we have the town of Moscow, which is just a small industrial town, and then it swings around behind me, goes across the bridge, and back into what we call a staging area. That'll be to the upper level of the staging area, which is Buffalo. The lower level here is coming from Johnstown Yard, the main yard on the layout, and it swings around here, comes by this small town called Cheney, where we do switching, across the Loyalhanna Creek Bridge, and then back down around to the lower level in the staging area, which is called Cumberland. We also have a non-railroad town in here called Deaton. As the train's heading down this way, it's going to come to Volker, which is a symbol of VO, and it'll go through the tunnel here. As it goes through the tunnel, there'll be a choice of either going across to the upper level, or it can go to Cumberland, Maryland, which is the lower level of our staging area. The control system for the Johnstown and Gerryville is DCC, Digital Command Control. And command control allows us to control a lot of different functions on the railroad, including the speed, the lights, the sound. We have two kinds of throttles that are generally used. The wireless throttle, which is the one that we use the most, and then we also have, from earlier time, we have the plug-in throttles. We're now at Butler Junction, which is called BJ, and BJ has a nice pair of tunnel portals. And the information I wanted to tell you about that is I made a little relief in the portals. There's 6 portals on the whole layout, and I wanted these to stand out a little bit. They're in the upper level, and you're exiting from Buffalo, New York, and heading east on the railroad. As the train passes Pine, let me talk a little bit about this online industry. It's called Cheney Oil Company, and they pump for oil. They're making money as the pump over here works. The nice details about this scene is that it's a very narrow scene in a long area. We have a very nice maintenance building and garage for their equipment. We have lights in here. You have the telegraph lines, or the telephone lines in the background. We just passed Moss Grove, which is the plant. Moss Grove is the other end of the passing siding that runs between Moss Grove and Pine. We have a nice tower, switching tower there at Moss Grove. And the city back here is Jerryville. I call it Jerryville Industrial. And Jerryville Industrial basically has two industries. It has the reliable warehouse in the background, and then in the foreground we have Volker Farm Machinery. Volker Farm Machinery is a manufacturer of tractors. The other part of this scene is this car in the foreground here. It's a trolley, and the trolley runs to pick up the workers, drop off workers for this industry, and then it goes through a tunnel over there and over to Gerryville in the city scene. This trolley happens to be the same one that my wife rode when she was a kid back in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Freeport is the last town on the upper level, and the details of it that I want to talk about are, first of all, it has a small passenger station. There's a platform for loading and unloading freight, and then in the background you can see there's a tunnel, and the tunnel is not for trains this time, it's a tunnel for the roadway. After passing Freeport, you go into a tunnel on Keystone Mountain, and that's where we'll pick up next. We're at Keystone Mountain. It's in Pennsylvania, and on top of the mountain we have a fire tower with a pair of binoculars, someone looking out for fires, and then down below that we have Salzburg Tunnel. Now, Salzburg Tunnel is a little bit unique. It goes back to the days of a lot of steam trains where you had a lot of smoke. Salzburg Tunnel had blowers inside the tunnel to blow the smoke out, and you can see the screens are still there. The train is now going across Raymond Trestle. Raymond Trestle is one of the first scenes that you see when you enter the layout from the outside. The unique things about it is that, first of all, it's a curved trestle. We had to build it to the specs of the curve that we had, which means it was custom. And also it's on a hill, it's on a slope. And so one end of the bridge's trestle is taller than the other. It made it more difficult for construction, but I think it came out absolutely beautiful. I'll stop the train here for just a second and talk about where we are. This is the last tunnel in Keystone Mountain. It's in Pennsylvania, and the first thing we have here just to your right of the engine is a passenger platform for the workers for the town behind me, and also for the mine. And so we're going to run the train on past this scene, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the town. After passing the passenger platform, we have another route here, which is a track that takes us into Stenzel Valley. Stenzel Valley is a small industrial town. It's off the main line, so when you're operating Stenzel Valley, when you're doing switching, you're not disturbing any of the mainline traffic. And there's 5 industries in Stenzel Valley, and the main one is Rolling Rock Beer. This Rolling Rock Beer structure is designed after the real structure in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. At this point now they have moved Rolling Rock production to another city, but for many years it was the key feature in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. And the sign on top, the blinking sign, is very similar to the sign that was on the building back in the 50s. My wife lived in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and so she helped us set the scene for this. We're now in front of Key Lake Passenger Station, which is the most detailed station on the layout. Absolutely beautiful station. And notice when we went around the mountain, when we went around Keystone Mountain, how beautiful and how green the scenery was. That's typical of Pennsylvania. And of course it was a lot of work to replicate that on the layout. So the features that we have is we have the station itself. We have a volleyball game going on. We have a bathhouse in the back. And then over my shoulder is the swimming hole. The swimming hole is has a nice dock area, boats for rent, tubes, a lot of swimmers. It's an abandoned quarry, which is very deep water normally. And then there's some real nice scenes of waterfalls coming down in from the creek that feeds the quarry. And what I wanted to do now was just point out some of the main structures in Johnstown Yard. The first scene is the diesel refueling facility. It's sitting in the right-hand side of the yard, which is the west end. Behind that is a tank car for reloading the fuel tank in the background here. The refueling facility, of course, does diesel, lubrication, and sand. And then to the left of that, we have all of the maintenance buildings in the background of the yard. We also have the diesel maintenance facility, which has a couple of boxcars sitting there at the loading dock right now, and one of our yard switchers. To the left of that, we have the coaling facility, which handles incoming loads of coal, goes into the coaling tower. So we can we reload the coal in the tender at this facility after dropping the ashes. Is our roundhouse and our turntable. Next we have the wheel repair facility, where we bring in primarily boxcars that need to have their wheel set changed, and we have the crane and all the repaired wheel sets to do that. As the train's heading down this way, it's going to come to Volker. Once it goes through the tunnel, it'll head into the staging area. So let's talk about the industries in South Johnstown. The first that I want to talk about is named after me. It's Travis Coal and Lumber, building materials. And in the building here we have room for boxcars for lumber loads and for other building materials. And then you can see we also have a coal trestle here. The structures in South Johnstown also contain, the first one here by me is called Gandon Generating No. 1. Gandon Generating No. 1 provides the electricity for the whole layout, and it's the main consumer of the coal from the Richard Mine No. 1 that we saw earlier. Gandon Generating No. 1 is also termed GG1. The next industry is Barney Kroger, and it is a warehouse for food, dry food, and also for meats. Beyond that is the next structure, Jack Klein Camera Company. In front of that is a dock. Hagen Creamery uses the milk that's produced on the layout, and then to the right of that is Hemingway Finishing. I hope you enjoyed this video tour of the Johnstown and Gerryville Railroad.